I don't even know if y'all are ready for this. I don't even know if I'm ready for this, but here we go. Hello everyone. I am Dr. Jackie. I know it has been a while, to say the least. It has been a while, and I know that this is something that I want to continue to do, but I had to take a little break. And today's episode is going to be a little bit more in depth as to what that break was and why I was pretty much forced into that break. But yes, here we go. So today's episode, I'm talking about, there's nothing short of a testimony as to why I'm sitting here. As you can see, the background is different because I have moved. I no longer live in Atlanta, no longer work in Atlanta. I am now in the great state of Texas, and I'm working in Dallas, and I am happy. But we're going to get to all of the things that brought me to this point. I don't even know where to start. I guess what I have to start with saying is that, like, I could not be sitting right here if it was not because of God. Like, there's no other way, y'all. Like, there's no other way that I would be sitting right here today, talking to this camera, getting ready to, start on another week of life if it wasn't for God. Like, it has been turmoil. It has been trial after storm after, it has been a lot. But I'm here today. I'm glad that I'm here. I'm the happiest I've ever been. Like, I just know that everything I just went through, one, I don't want anybody else to ever have to go through it, but two, I know that it was all for a reason. I don't know that full reason yet, but I do know that I'm starting to see the reason why I had to go through every single thing I just did. So let's take it back. So I was working in Atlanta, finishing up my residency. I loved the place that I was at. It was somewhere where I thought, I was like, I'm gonna be in Atlanta. Like, that's where I'm gonna be. There's no questions about it. Like, I'm staying in Atlanta. So I thought. And as we all know, as audiologists, we are required to obviously finish our schooling, finish our residency, but then you also have to pass the audiology praxis exam. And for a year, I was trying to pass this test. I did everything that I thought I knew what to do to study. I thought I did everything that I knew what to do to prepare for it, and it just wasn't enough. And the test is not cheap. And to come from, a background where, like, don't necessarily have a lot of family that can, shell out money when I need it. I just don't come from that, and so to have the study preps and the, handouts and all those things, we really didn't even have those, but, like, I just didn't have the monetary resources, truthfully. So spending $150 on this test every single time I had to take it was like, it was a lot. It was a lot. It was stressful. It was just like, you gotta be kidding me. So let's take it back to the first time I took it. I thought, I'm going to pass this and I'm not going to have to think about it. I took it when they told us to, take it right at the beginning of your fourth year so that you don't have to worry about it throughout your externship. And then when you graduate, you're done and you can get your job. So I did what they told me to do. And I missed it by 2 points. And I was like, well, yeah, I guess I could have studied a little bit more. So, I took full responsibility, test number 1. I was like, okay. So then externship just got a little more busy. And so I just didn't get around to scheduling it again as soon as I probably could have. And I didn't take it again until the winter in my externship. So I took it in January. Missed it again. And it was a completely different test. Like, it was not like everything that I had remembered from the first test, I was like, oh yeah, you should have studied that. You would have known whatever. Again, I took full responsibility. So the second test, I had prepared based off of the study guides that were online, and I prepared based off of what I remember being tested on the first time. And so when I got the second test, was completely different. I mean, like the first one had a little bit of everything audiology on it. The second one, straight vestibular and occupational audiology. And I'm like, whoa, like this is not what you prepped me for in your study guides practice. Like the praxis site ETS, they gave us a study guide and stuff, but it didn't seem like that's what the test was going to be like. So I'm like, okay, didn't pass it again. So then the third time I go to take it, I took it in March, and for whatever reason, the testing cycle in March of 2023, we didn't get a score at the end of it. So I took it in early March. Results did not come out for a month later. So I had to sit on, and I knew that I had passed it the third time. I was like, yeah, like I studied all weekend before and I had all my notes, and I'm going to insert like my bed of me like studying all my notes like here. So you can see I studied all of my notes. I had them written out. I was color coordinating. I went through everything. I studied syndromes. I was like, I need to know these syndromes for whatever reason. I just feel like I need to like really brush up on these syndromes and all these things. I had memorized them. I mean, genetics, everything. Like I knew I had this test in the bag. I knew I did. But it was no score. So again, I'm waiting a month to see, like, do I need to start studying again? Do I need to take the test again? Am I good? Can I maybe see about, if my current placement wants to keep me on? Like, all of these things were going through my head. But at the end of the day, I couldn't move forward because I didn't have a score. So I'm waiting and just waiting. April 7th comes around. Good Friday. I'm supposed to get these test results on Good Friday. I said, Lord, you're not going to forsake me here. Like, I know I put in the work this time. I know you're not going to forsake me. And I got the email while I was at work. And I just so happened to be working with, one of my preceptors. And she was like, Jackie, I'm gonna need you to open up that results. And I was like, I don't want to open it because like I'm gonna cry either way. Like if I pass, I'm gonna cry, and if I didn't pass, obviously I'm gonna cry. I don't like crying in front of people, so I'm gonna just go to my car at the end of the day and I'll open it up then. So clinic had slowed down, and I was like, okay, I'm going to my car. I'm gonna take my stuff because if I'm crying, regardless if I'm crying, like I'm going home. Like I don't care. I'm going home. So I took my stuff, went to my car, and I said the deepest prayer I could have thought of. I said, Lord, please, like, your faithful servant no longer wants to take this test again, and Lord, I just need this one to come through for me, right? I'm trying to be holier than thou, to get my prayers heard by the Lord, to make sure that when I opened that, it said that I passed. And I missed it again by 2 points. So I've now paid, at that point, I have paid $400, right? $450 for this test that I've now taken 3 times. So I'm like, okay, well, obviously I boo-hooed. And then I was like, you know what? Forget audiology. Like, I'm just gonna get my degree. I'm gonna finish out this residency. I don't care. Like, I have so many skills. I can do nails. I can do hair. I can do makeup. I can be a social media manager. I can do all types of things. And I was just gonna kick audiology to the curb. And I was so serious about it. And one thing about me is when I set my mind to something, or when I say something, or I'm going to do something, I'm gonna figure out how to do it. It may not be where I'm supposed to be doing or what I'm supposed to, but if I said I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. And so, yeah, I had pretty much just written off audiology, and I was just like, you know what, I don't care. I was numb. I just was like, I just spent the last 8 years in school trying to get to this point, mind you, this is what my mama knew that I was about to be doing before she passed, and I cannot get past this test. You know what? I'm just about to have to disappoint some people because I'm done. I'm physically tired. I'm done with this profession. I'm done. If this is what they're gonna tell me, I can't be an audiologist because of this, then so be it. Y'all can have it. Enjoy. That was my mindset, and that was from April till probably the mid-May. I had this mindset. So graduation came. Obviously, I went home, tried to be happy. I tried to enjoy myself. I had a party and everything, and like I had people flying from like all over to come and celebrate me. So I was just trying my hardest the entire weekend to just like keep a smile on my face, just stay happy, stay positive. Like, but deep down, I was like, I don't want any of this. Like, give me my degree. I don't care to walk across the stage. Like, I'm done with audiology, so don't ask me what I'm doing because like I'm done. And so gonna make it through the weekend, whatever. Graduation comes, seeing my classmates, and they're all like, "Oh, what are you staying in Atlanta?" And I was like, "Probably not." They're like, "Oh, what are you gonna do?" You know, I'm not sure yet. Oh, like, are you gonna stay, with kids? Are you gonna stay working with kids? I'm not sure yet. I'm still kind of figuring that out. That's literally all I could tell them. And like they kept asking, and I was just looking at them like, can you please stop? Like, I don't want another person to ask me this question. So and I hate that that's how I felt during graduation, because this was such a momentous occasion. Like, one, to be the first person in my family to receive a doctorate degree, like that in and of itself is something to celebrate. To know that I'm joining the very small percentage of black people, black women, that hold this type of a degree, this stature of a degree, is like something to be celebrated. And for me to have a test looming over my head to try to diminish that light is like, now looking back, I wish I would have enjoyed it more, but it is what it is, and so you have to just kind of move forward. So yeah, graduation came. I mean, I had professors asking me like, so what are you doing? Are you staying in Atlanta? Like, I know you really wanted to be there. And like, everybody knew I wanted to be in it. Like, everybody knew that Atlanta was my destination, my final destination. I wasn't going nowhere else, right? So I thought. And God has a funny way of like letting you get what you think you want, and then you get there and you're like, ish, I don't, this was actually not what I wanted. So my placement was great. It was just the city of Atlanta was not it for me. Visiting, cool. Living there, absolutely not. I'll never do it again. Graduation, went through that, had my party, came back to Atlanta to finish out my residency, and like, obviously they were like, so when are you taking your praxis again, and yada yada yada. And like, I just didn't want to answer the question, because at that point, again, I had made up in my mind that I was chucking up the deuces to audiology and I was going to figure out something else to do with my life. But then one of my preceptors, she was probably one of the ones that kept me going, because again, I was like, I'm done with it. I'm over it. I don't care anymore. But she was like, no, like, I'll sponsor you. Like, if you want a study book, if you want to take a class, like, whatever it is, let me know. I'll help you out. And I think that was like one of the things that I needed, because I'm not someone that likes to ask for help. And this again, we're just at the very cusp of the beginning of what's transpired over the past few months. But I don't like asking for help, and so when she offered that, it was like, okay, I can take it because she offered it. But like, me saying, hey, could somebody like help me out with this, um, it was hard. And so I do appreciate her, pushing me and saying like, no, we're just going to get back to studying, because you're going to make a great audiologist. We just got to get over this hurdle. And so that was something that like I really appreciated. And not a lot, like really nobody outside of her, a couple people might have said like, oh, you got this, like, if there's anything I can do, let me know. And it's like, Yeah, but I don't want to ask. So that was my own fault, and I, realizing that now, that like I have to be someone who can ask when I need the help. And so yeah, so fast forward, I got my study book, and I had, sat down and said, okay, I'm gonna study this. I'm gonna make sure I know all this stuff. Like, they're not getting me on the next one, right? And in this time, I had been still applying to places, but like I had to be transparent with them. Like, it's going to take me a little bit because I have to take the praxis to be able to apply for my license in XYZ state. And who knows how long that's going to take. And so everybody's in need of an audiologist right now. Like, everybody is in need. And so it wasn't the matter of me not knowing that I was going to get a job eventually. It was just the fact that I'm being stopped from pursuing a job because of a standardized test that I don't feel like was truly assessing what I knew or what I had learned in the past 4 years in my program. So that was that. But in that time, I was applying to places. I had found a couple, and then in my mind, I had been thinking about, relocating somewhere else. And um, Texas was kind of like always on my list. I wanted to go to grad school in Texas, and that just didn't work out. But I have family here, I have friends here. A lot of people from my undergrad are here in Texas, specifically Dallas, and then also in Houston. And so it was just like, if I moved there, I know I could have a support system. And because I definitely wasn't going back to the Midwest. Like, I love y'all, love Chicago. I will visit y'all, but I can't live there all year. I just can't. So I just had in my mind that I wanted to maybe explore moving to Texas, Dallas, this area. And so I never really told anybody but my sister. I think I told her, and then she was just like, yeah, just, look into it. Like, so I hadn't really told anybody, but then I got a message from a mentor, a text from her that I hadn't spoken to her in like 2 years. And she had, sent me a text about an opportunity that she knew about somebody here in Dallas that was hiring. And they were looking, for somebody full time to work in a pediatric setting, which is something that I have been working in. They were ENT, which was also something I had been working in. And so I had the skill set, I had everything that they would have needed to place me into this position, and I would have excelled. And they thought so too. I went through the interviews, and this is kind of where, like, I felt like my faith was really being tested, because I had went through the interviews. I mean, May was a crazy month just in general. Like, I graduated 2 weeks later. One of my line sisters got married. I had the opportunity to be in her wedding. So like, I was just we were all, bouncing around in May. But during that weekend of her wedding, I get a job offer from this place that I interviewed with. And it's contingent on me passing this exam, right? I had already set up that, I'm going to take it in early June. And I know that, if I could just sit down and study and whatever, I could pass this test. So I got the offer. And they gave me everything I asked for. Um, that's all I got to say. They gave me everything I asked for in this offer. And um relocation and everything. So it was like this is gonna be something good. And I'm like, God, like, this doesn't happen. Like, people don't get offers like this, and they haven't gotten licensed. They don't get, starting salaries here. Like, yes, in some places, I guess you could say that, but in a pediatric setting, what I was asking for, I've heard that you typically don't get that. So for them to give me that in relocation, that was, I was like, okay, God, like, this gotta be you. Like, has to be what you have for my life, right? So we're at the end of May, right? Wedding has commenced. It's a beautiful wedding. And it's time to start studying for this exam, because again, I have this job offer on the table, and it's with a place that I'm like, yeah, like, they seem like a really cool group of people. Like, it just seems amazing. I'll get to work with kids still. I'll get to, I still get to be in an ENT setting, so I get to work with physicians. Like, I just was really excited about it. And so I got to test day, and I felt so confident. Like, I don't know. And I think that's what really ate at me the most, was that when I thought, like, I was certain that I had it, certain that I had it. It was a hard test. Every last one of those tests were very, very difficult. But that one, I felt like I was answering them, and I was answering enough of them to be able to get to the score that I needed to get to, right? And so to need a 162 to pass, and I'm like, okay, like, I feel like I know more on this test than I've known on the previous test. And so I'm taking it and I'm taking it, and then I get to a point where they're having me like calculate something, calculate, a thing, um, that we don't really calculate by hand in clinical settings. So it's like I didn't know that I needed to know this for an exam. It didn't seem right to be asked. So I'm calculating stuff, and then it was asking me to drag and drop, and it was asking me to fill in the blank, and I'm like, this is not what the test has shown me in the past. We would have been told and preached at that this is a multiple choice test, and that's all it is. Like, all the answers are there because it's multiple choice. That is false. The praxis does not have only multiple choice on it now. Like, I don't know if they're testing it out. I don't know if we're the guinea pigs right now. I don't know what's happening, but it's not from the 5 tests that I've taken. They are not all the same, which I don't expect them to, because obviously you have to change out questions so that, you're not getting people cheating and stuff. But like, there was no type of like prep material that showed me or told me that I was going to have to calculate these things. So I get to that, and I'm like, crap, like, I don't even know what's about to happen. So get through that test, and it didn't show me a score, but I was getting the score by the end of the week. So it didn't show me that score, or it wasn't a full score. Something weird with that score. So then when I got the final score on that Friday, still didn't pass. And they're waiting for me. Like, the place in Texas was waiting. They were like, just let us know as soon as you get the test results back. Like, either way, just let us know, whatever. So again, this is number 4, or on June 6th, I took test number 4. And I was like, this is it. Like, they're about to just find somebody else. And I think that, again, reflecting now, all of this happened for a reason. But we're still not done with the story, right? We're still not done. So my time in Atlanta was coming to an end. And I knew that. Like, I was one, I was fed up with the place. But 2, my lease was coming to an end in July, and I needed to figure out what was about to happen. Again, in the back of my mind, in my head, I was like, I need to get to Texas. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I need to get there. Because still in my mind, I was like, if I can take it again in 28 days, they have help. They had like temporary help. Like, I'm trying to calculate all these things in my head, not knowing that God has already had these things calculated. Like, he already had what he needed to have calculated out. And so I just look silly trying to figure it out myself. But that's what I was trying to do. I was like, okay, I have 28 days again. Like, if I can just get to Texas and do this and do that and maybe I could still, maybe the job offer won't be gone. So I tell them, I didn't pass it, and I'm gonna just have to figure out life, and they were like, well, maybe this, it's not God's timing and whatever. And I think I really appreciated that they understood that, like, I wasn't just like, I feel like they understood me, and that this wasn't a test that was defining me. It was just something that I had to get past. But on the other hand, they as a clinic, needed to fill the position because they really needed to keep their doors open. And so I understood that, but it was just really difficult. And I think that not passing that really sent me to a place where I was just like, bro, what is even happening? And so that's honestly when I started this podcast, was like, after not passing it that time, I say, you know what, y'all can shut me up and tell me that maybe I can't, work in a clinic, but you're not going to tell me that I can't share the knowledge of audiology online. Like, you can't tell me that. I have my degree and I'm going to talk. So if you don't like it, kick rocks. Like, that's where I was at with this. So that's how this one got started, this podcast. And so after that, things just had to get figured out. So again, I'm in Atlanta. I was in Atlanta trying to figure out how am I going to get to Texas. And so I ended up started calling people like, hey, like, I didn't pass my test again, but I really, I really want to get to Texas. And so um, I started asking people. One, I've already said I don't like asking for help. So this was a time when I had to like break down that discomfort of not liking to ask for help, and I had to I just had to ask. And so I ended up asking one of my pro fights. She was also at Purdue with me, and she graduated before I did, but same sorority. And so I reached out to her. I knew she had just moved here to Dallas and got a house, and I was like, hey, I need to take this test again, and I know I can pass it, but I just need to get to I just need to get to Dallas, and like if I can stay with you until I can pass this test, like I would greatly appreciate it. And I promise you, without a shadow of a even thinking, she was like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, wow, okay, this is okay, this is happening, like this is gonna happen. And so I was like, I just need the help to let me to just get me to the point where I can just focus on study, take this test again, and then pass it, and then hopefully they'll still have this job open and I can just, start working there, right? So then I started trying to figure out, okay, well, how am I going to get all of my stuff, Atlanta to Dallas, Texas? Because that relocation, I was shipping everything and I was going to fly and meet it there. Like that was my plan, right? And obviously, again, like I said, God always has, his plan in mind. And so that wasn't gonna work. And obviously, my externship, my residency was ending, and it ended in May. So I wasn't bringing in any type of income outside of my nails, which like that's just my little play money. Like it's not like something that I can live off of right now. And so yeah, so I was trying to figure that out. So I ended up having to reach out to family members to be like, hey, this is what's going on. I have someone that says that they'll let me stay with them. I know I can pass this test if I just sit down and I just focus. And I ended up getting, what I needed to be able to move from from Atlanta to Dallas. And the crazy thing is, I called another one of my pro fights. Like, when I tell y'all sisterhood is real, sisterhood is real. Especially as a Delta. We, like, these have been my rocks for sure. I called one of my pro fights and I was like, hey, you got a job? Like, you hiring? Because she has a business. I was like, are you hiring? Because, I need a job. And, we got to the point of just laughing about it. And I was like, I'm going to have to, like, get up and move. But, like, I really don't want to drive my stuff by myself to Texas. Like, obviously, I would enjoy if, I didn't have to drive. And she was like, I'll drive with you. And I was like, are you sure? Like, because, like, I had asked my brother, but this was before, like, I had figured everything out, and, like, him flying from California and da-da-da. Like, it was just, like, gonna be too much, but I really don't want to drive myself. She was like, I'm always down for a road trip. So she flew from, like, and this is why I say, like, it's just crazy to think about, because you never really know who's going to be on your side until you get to rock bottom. And I have seen single-handedly who's on my side and who's not. And I've seen how people will show up for you when you don't think they're going to show up for you, or you don't know if anybody's going to show up for you. You will know who your real people are, Who your real people are is those that show up for you when you hit rock bottom. And so I literally was at the pits of rock bottom, under the rocks, if I could say so myself. So she agreed, and she flew into Atlanta. I had packed up my apartment, had got movers to put everything onto a U-Haul. We then drove the U-Haul to the U-Haul store. She followed with my car, and we hooked my car up onto the U-Haul, and we drove from Atlanta, Georgia to Dallas, Texas in one day. Barely any stops, just gas. Barely any stops. Straight through. It was supposed to be 9 hours, but in a U-Haul truck, it only goes so fast. And it took us 12 hours to get here. That's a real friend. That's family at that point. Somebody that's willing to drive that far in a U-Haul. Just thinking about it just is it was crazy. It was crazy that we did that. It was crazy that we did that. But I just am so thankful that I have people around me that was there cheering me on. So we're now at the point where I have now transitioned to Dallas. And I'm staying with my friend. She ain't my friend, she my sister. I'm staying with my sister at her house. And literally that first night, it was so late by the time we had got there that we just crashed, went to sleep, woke up the next morning, and me, her, and my other friend that drove with me, we were all just talking, and like, I don't remember what it is that she said, but she was like, you know, how does it feel to be in Dallas now? You know, like, you're gonna be here, like, y'all gonna be roommates for a little while. And like, in my head, like, I just had all these like thoughts, like, just like circulating. So I'm just like, I'm really in Dallas, like, this is crazy. And I remember she said something to me, and like, I just started crying because it was like the thought that somebody would be so willing to just like help out in a time when like I didn't know what was about to happen. Like, I was like, if I don't pass this test for the 5th time, like, what do I do then? I can't just live off of somebody and like not have a plan, you know what I'm saying? So that was so hard for me. And when she asked me that, she was like, are these tears of, you know, joy? And I'm like, yes, because like, I've never had somebody, I mean, multiple people obviously at this point, who have just like stepped out of their daily routine, their daily life, to be like, yeah, we're gonna help you, like, whatever it is that we have to do, we're gonna help you. And so, you know, it was so hard to like accept it, but like it was just different to experience that somebody would care that much to make sure that I was good to be able to get to the point where I am right now. You know, as soon as I got there, I was like, I'm getting to studying. Like, that's all I'm doing. Like, I don't care to like go out. I don't care to, I mean, obviously I didn't have any income coming in. So I was like living off of my graduation money I had put away. Like, that's all I had, you know, and my fellowship still came through for a couple more weeks after that. But like, that's all I had. And so I was like, I'm not trying to be like out here like really doing a lot. Like, I'm here to study so that I can pay for this test for the final time and take it and be done. And so I kid you not, like, I studied for 2 weeks straight. Like, I would wake up and I was studying something. I would wake up and I would be writing my notes, rewriting them. Like, I have a notebook that I just wrote everything in, and then like got to the point where I was like, okay, I need y'all to hold me accountable. So I made like a study breakdown. I had day 1, 2, 3, like for 2 weeks I had a breakdown. And I was like, I sent it to my peoples. I said, y'all need to check in and be like, what did you learn today? What did you go over today? Are you at this point in the study guide? Like, what did you do? And, you know, they did. I sent it to my aunt. I sent it to I sent it to a whole bunch of people, my sister, my brother, my line sister. Like, I sent it to people. I said, I need y'all to check in with me to make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I'm just so thankful for that time, because all I did was study, and that was it. um, Obviously, they were like, well, you need to get out the house and do some stuff. So obviously during that time, I was trying to have fun, but like truthfully, in my heart and soul, I was like, I can't have fun until this test is done. I can't enjoy myself. I can't have fun. I can't spend no money. I can't, none of that, until this test is out of my hair. So I got to that 2 weeks of studying, and I started going back through stuff in my book that my preceptor had bought me, and I was going through it, and I was answering the questions, and I was like, okay, I wasn't able to answer these questions this easily last time. Like, I was flipping through them, and I was like, oh, I know what these are. I know what this is. I can write it out and tell you what it is. Like, I had really gotten to that point. It's time to register for this test, and it's time to make sure that I am ready to take it. So I found a weekend, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take it on this day. I checked with my friend that I was staying with, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take it on this day. She was like, okay, well, I'm not even gonna be there, so you'll have, it won't be nobody there or whatever. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I registered for the exam, and my heart just starts pounding, because I'm like, if I don't pass this test like this time, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And so I just, I really got to focusing. I was reaching out to some other people that I know had taken it a couple times, and just trying to get resources from anybody that I could, just to make sure I passed it this time. Test day comes around. I'm like, okay, like, I got people praying. I'm like, y'all get on your knees. I need my prayer warriors. Like, I need y'all to pray over me that I get through this test, and that I'm done, and I'll have the results at the end. And so, because again, I was getting tests that had no score. I was getting half the score. I was getting, like, it was just a lot of stuff happening. And I was like, why is this happening to me? Like, nobody else is reporting that this is happening to them, but why am I the one that's having to experience all of these testing changes, right? So again, I'm just like, everything's happening for a reason, but I couldn't see it at that point. So, So test day comes, I'm ready to take it. I set up my computer and everything, and I'm like, okay, I'm about to take this test. And like, I got my little whiteboard. I got everything that they say I could have. I got it. Okay, testing goes. I'm like, okay, I think I got it. Get to the end. Before I even push submit, I was like, I just had to pray. I was like, Lord, please, like, I cannot take this test again. Like, mentally, I'm not going to be okay if I have to take this test again. And so I pushed submit, and that score came up, and it said a 167. Before I could even, my body just went into shock. Like, before I could even like push out of the test, I was messaging the proctor. I said, I'm done. She was like, no, you need to like finish it out. And I was like, no, but I am finished. She was like, no, just keep clicking. So I click. Finally, she said, I'm done. I closed that laptop so hard, I thought I could have broke it. Like, that's how hard I slammed it down. I said, I'm done with this. Like, I can't believe it. I passed this test. Like, it just took me getting out of what I had been in Atlanta. Just it just wasn't good for me. Like, it just wasn't where I was supposed to be. Like I said, God will let you have what you want. It may not be what you're supposed to have, but he gonna let you have it, and then you'll see that that's not really what you want. So then I just burst into tears. Again, there's nobody in the house, so I am crying, like, I am just like sobbing. I'm texting people, I'm shaking. I'm like, suppose I passed. And then I'm texting everybody in Dallas, like, y'all, I passed. Like, everybody at home, I passed the test. I'm like, I start texting people, right? And then I'm getting phone calls, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm not ready to answer the phone. I'm answering the phone. I'm boo-hooing. Like, I'm like, y'all, we did it. Like, and I say we because this was just not just me. Like, it was all of y'all, like, supporting me, telling me to keep going. Like, we did it. So I'm texting people like, I passed. And I was like, okay. So then, I don't know. I'm pretty sure everybody that I talked to that day called me. I didn't call anybody, I don't think, but they called me. And I remember I had talked to Shannon, one of my line sisters, and I was just like trying to like hold it in, but like I was like shit, I passed. Like I finally did it. And so when I finally passed, like it was just like this weight lifted off my shoulder. Like it was just, what I say is something that I don't want anybody to ever have to go through. Like there should be no reason that we go through as much schooling as we go through and then get constantly told by a test that you can't pass. Like I don't know if we need to change something in the curriculum. I don't know if we need to take over from ETS and it be ran by audiologists that are proctoring this exam. Like I don't know what it needs to be, but something has to change, because there is absolutely no reason that I've had to go through what I went through and that be the norm. Like I'm sorry. Like I cannot sit back and say that somebody taking the practice more than once is okay. Like it's just not. There's no reason that test should be that hard. If you're passing all of your classes, if you're passing your curriculum, if you are showing you are a clinically competent person in the practice that you are in, you should not be held back. Because this is the thing that got me, right? I'm being held back from getting a job. You know, a lot of people are in school with student loans. How is somebody supposed to survive? This test is should not be what stops you from getting a job to be able to live. Like thankfully, thank God I had the people behind me that I had to be able to help me, because if not, I'm just supposed to be homeless. Like I'm just supposed to, be without a job. I'm not supposed to eat because this test tells me I can't get a job. Like that's how I view it, and that's why I'm like, I don't think it's fair. It's not right that this is something that's hindering people from moving forward with a job after we just spent all of this time of our life, all of this time in our lives going to school for this thing. It just doesn't make any sense. And so that's a bone I will be picking with whoever is over it. Like you're gonna have to see me. Like that's just what it is. Like you're just gonna have to see me and explain to me why this test is the way that it is. And if somebody is over ETS, whoever is over the praxis for audiology, if you want to contact me, please do, because I have a lot of input to put in for this test. So please reach out to me. If anybody watching this knows who's over that, send me their contact, because I would love to talk to them. But at the end of the day, I don't think that this should be something that stops us from continuing in a path that we've been on for the past 4 years. Like it literally, my life came to a complete halt because of this exam. I could not do anything. I was stuck. And until today, right now, it's like, to be very honest with you, I'm still not out of this stuckness. I have had a lot of people help me, but like it's taking so much longer to get to the place where I can live in this economy. I mean, let's be real. Eggs was $12 a carton. Like that is not, this test should not be the end all be all to you being able to get a job. That's just, I will get off of my high horse now, but that's just how I feel. So back to the story, right? I passed this exam finally. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to tell them like that I passed the exam. Like the original job offer that I had that really brought me to Dallas in the first place. Like, so I was like, okay, I need to reach out to them. I need to tell them, like, I need to hurry up. They were the first person I was emailing. I'm like, I'm sorry for the informal email, but like, I just want to let you know that I passed, and like, hopefully that this job offer is not off the table. Well, then it was. And I was like, bro, you got to be kidding me. I said, God, what else? What else could you need from me at this point? I finally passed the test. The job offer was on the table. What else do you need from me? So they were like, oh yes, well, we actually ended up extending the offer to someone else because we don't know how soon your license will come in, and yada yada yada. And I was just like, cool. Like I was back to my very shut down, like, cool, that's fine. So I started on my hunt and I started reaching out to people in Dallas. Everybody's hiring, like I said. Everybody is looking for an audiologist. Everybody. And so I started back on my hunt and I'm interviewing with several places, but they weren't really what I truly wanted. I was just kind of just like applying for them, and I was just like, I can make it work if I can get a check. So I'm having interviews that are going really, really well, and everything's looking good. And so I had sent in everything for my Texas license, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna send it in now. I'm gonna interview with these places and let them know whatever, whatever. Well, I got my C. So my scores, official scores, dropped on like the 4th of August on a Friday. By the 7th of August, I had my C's assigned to me, which are like my ASHA C's. I had those assigned. The next day, I had my Texas license. My license came in 2 days of them having my official scores, because they had everything else. I did everything. I did the fingerprints. I did everything. So it was a matter of just just getting the last piece, which was the exam, to pass and get to them. Well, I got my license in 2 days. I was licensed on August 8th. And, in my mind, I was still in my head, like, okay, if I can get my license before their help runs out, maybe they'll still hire me, and they'll bring me on. And they had help until the 12th. So, like, obviously I was like, okay, this is going to be pushing it. But then when the 8th came, they had already told me that somebody else had taken the offer or whatever. I was like, well, my license came in 2 days, so on to the next thing. And I think that I really wanted it, and it was a really good opportunity. But I think that God kept telling me, no more. I kept hearing, no, I got more. Like, no, there's more. And I'm like, there can't be no more. Like, God, I just need a job at this point. Like, I am maxed out. Like, I need a job. And so he was just like, no, like, I got more for you. And I'm like, I'm tired of trying to decode these messages, God. Like, I need you to give it to me straight. Tell me what it is and what it ain't, because I am tired. And so during that time, I'm apartment hunting. I'm looking at all these apartments. I thought I had my heart set on one, and it was not that cute. And I found one that was way more in my budget, and it's much nicer. So here I am today in it. It's very nice. I love it. But I was apartment hunting during that time, and I was like, well, I don't want to sign any lease because I don't know where I'm going to be, because I thought I was going to be at this place, but that's not going to be happening. And then there was another place out in that same area that opened up, and they were just taking too long. And I was like, this is not going to be right. I'm not going to keep waiting on people. Like, I'm going with whoever's going to show me that they actually want me. So then an opportunity came up out of the blue. I mean, like, literally an opportunity came up where an audiologist was moving to a different position within the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and they were looking to replace her as a full-time staff, because she was part-time, but they were looking to fulfill a full-time position. So I go, and during this time, my line sisters and I had planned this trip to Mexico months ago. Like, we had this trip planned for months, probably since February. And I was like, ugh, okay, I thought I was gonna be working by now, and all those things. So I did the interview for a job on a Thursday. They had contacted me Wednesday, and she was like, oh, would you be able to come in on Friday? And I was like, would it be virtual or in person? Because if it's virtual, sure. But if it's in person, I'm gonna need to do that sooner, or I'm gonna have to do it after I come back. So we were leaving to Mexico on Friday, and then wouldn't be back until the next Tuesday. And so I was like, well, do you have time tomorrow? This is me on the phone midday Wednesday, still, trying to get stuff together for my trip that I'm leaving on Friday. And she was like, yeah, you can come in tomorrow at noon. I said, or 1, whatever the time was. I came in the next day, interviewed. I was like, this is actually interesting, because I'm still working with kids. I still get to work with adults. I'm not commission based. I'm making a good salary, And I'm cool, like getting quarterly, stuff. Like I was very interested in this job. I was like, okay. So I interviewed, and then they were like, okay, well, we're meeting with the rest of the team on Tuesday, but by Tuesday evening, like, I'll let you know. So we're in Mexico, living it up, having us a grand old time with each other. We hadn't seen, well, we saw each other back in May, but like, this was our first international trip as, line sisters. So it was a really great time. And then we're sitting in the airport, heading back after we had a time in Mexico. Sitting in the airport, I get this call from a Texas number, and I was like, oh, I wonder if this is them. So I answer, and I'm like, hi, this is Jackie. And she was like, hi, Jackie, I just wanted to let you know, we talked to them, and we would like to offer you the position. And my line sister that lives in Dallas was sitting next to me, and she knew that I had been waiting for this call to come, right? And I just looked at her, and I'm responding on the phone, and I'm like, oh yeah. And she was like, well, are you still interested? And I was like, absolutely, I'm still interested in da 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 da. And like, she's looking at me out the corner of her, I could see her out the corner of my eyes, of her looking at me, and I'm on the phone, and I'm like, and she was like, we would love to offer you the position, are you still interested in that? And I said, I'm absolutely interested in the position, I would love to take it. Great, when would you like to start? I was like, I could probably start by Monday, because like the following Monday, give me some time to get back in the groove of things. I was like, I could start Monday and da da da. So she's like, great, I'm gonna send you over the offer letter and da 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 da. Baby, when I say I almost boo-hooed in that Mexico airport, I mean, we were sitting there eating, and I looked, I was like, I got the job, y'all. And like literally, like everybody in the thing, they were like, yay. And then they was like, she got the job. And like the whole like restaurant was like clapping and congratulating. I was like, God, you are funny. God, you are funny, because you have had this planned out the entire time. You had this orchestrated how you was going to have it orchestrated from the jump. But I just had to sit back and let you be God. Like, I had to step out, stop trying to be God, stop trying to make everything happen on my time, stop trying to, see that it all worked out in my timing, and just trust that you was going to make it happen, right? So I get the job, right? And for the first week, I was still staying down there with my friend, and I was working up here in North Dallas where I'm at. And so, yeah, like I say all of that to say, and that's honestly just like a snippet. Obviously, it's about an hour into this, but that's just a snippet of how it's all been and how it's felt. Because I think that for me, the biggest thing that I learned out of this entire time is that I gotta trust God's timing, because he knew all of this was gonna happen for a reason. I'm still trying to figure out what all the reason is. I think it's because maybe I'm gonna be the person that's over the praxis exam in the next year or so. I don't know. Maybe I'm just speaking things into existence, but I had to go through what I went through for a reason. Again, I'm not 100% sure on what that reason is or why it had to happen the way that it did, but it did. And I'm now in a position where I'm like able to reflect on it and not be upset by it, but be encouraged to know that although we go through storms, and although storms are still going to keep coming up, and storms are going to keep, trying to throw us off of our path, we have to keep going. We have to keep, pursuing what it is that was put inside of us to do here on this earth. And I know deep down in my heart that I am an audiologist. I am supposed to be an audiologist. I have helped patients these past 3 weeks, that I would have never come across had I not, stayed the course. If I would have been like, what, forget it, like audiology is just not for me, I would have missed out on all of these opportunities. And so I just say this to say that it sucked. It still sucks that I had to take that exam 5 times. I would like a refund for it. But I'm not going to dwell on it. I know that I'm going to be a person that is going to help the next person, because I promise you I will not let anybody under my knowledge have to ever take that test that many times. And I hope that, you know, just hearing my story and hearing this testimony, that it brings whoever may be going through the same thing to know that there are people out there that will help you. I am someone that will help you. I have all of my resources from my many study sessions that I am happy to share with you. And I know that I have some things that are planning to help students who are preparing for the exam for the first time or preparing for the exam for the fifth time. Like, I have resources that I'm working on, and I'm getting ready to start, you know, releasing for a more steady help session. I have started a TikTok account. It's also called Hear Me Out Audiology, and I'm basically coming up with questions that you can just watch the TikTok and you can see, you know, read the question and try to figure out what the multiple choice answer is. And then after a couple seconds, it's going to flash what the answer is. So, like, it's just another study tool, because I have seen we do not have it in audiology. We don't have the study material that, you know, we try to say that we have. And we say, oh, well, if you just study the cat's book, that book, don't nobody want to read that book after going through and taking, you know, 4 years to learn the stuff. Like, nobody wants to sit down and read the cats. That's, to me, that's a answer for someone that thinks that, oh, well, I did it on my own, so you can figure it out too. Like, no, I'm not that type of person. I understand what it felt like for people to be like, oh, you got this, but then like never tried to help me. I'm not going to do that to the next person. If you tell me that you're struggling and you can't get past something, I will figure it out. Figure it out for you, to figure out how to help you get through it. So I'm not going to be the person that says, oh, just read the cats, you'll be good. I'm gonna be the first to tell you I did not read that cat's book for studying purposes, because it's just too much jargon to try to shove into your brain to be able to take this test. Because to be honest with you, it ain't what the test looks like. It's just not. And so if I can figure out who the person is that's making the test, I will gladly, and I mean gladly, sit down with them to go over what truly should be on that test and what truly should not be. Not saying that it should be a breeze by test by any means. No, it should be a challenging test, because this program is challenging, but it should not be that we're paying $150 every single time we have to take it, and the test changes drastically every time. You get no type of anything to help you focus on what you need to focus on to study, because truthfully, them questions, they're not even used in clinical settings most of the time. So I don't know where the questions are coming from. I don't know who's developing them, but I would like to talk to whoever that person is. I would like to talk to them. That's all. So I do have, again, my TikTok that I've started. I'm going to start putting more content out on there. And then I want to obviously get more people on this podcast to talk about just their journey through audiology. Because this is one last thing I'm gonna say. I remember telling my preceptor back in my residency. I remember telling her, I said, this is just embarrassing. Like, this is embarrassing that I can't pass this exam, but y'all are telling me that, you know, I'm doing such a great job, and like that patients love me, and patients are reporting back to the physicians that I really helped them out, and that, you know, I took my time to care for them, and, you know, all of these things, but this test is telling me otherwise. So, you know, it was embarrassing to say that, oh, I had to take this exam 5 times, but now I'm like, yeah, I took it 5 times, and I'm gonna make sure the next person only has to take it once. Because if it's left to me, I'm not giving ETS no more money. I gave them enough for all of us. And so I feel like if there's something I can do, then I'm going to do it. But yes, so we have a TikTok page now, solely dedicated to Hear Me Out Audiology. So there I'm going to be posting a lot of obviously short clips of my podcast, but then I'm also going to be posting those study breaks. I call them study breaks, where you will go on there, you can read the question and kind of quiz yourself to see if you know the answer. And then I also may start doing some day in the life, because we got to know what an audiologist does. A lot of people hear it and they're like, "A what? You do what?" And so then we go down the rabbit hole of explaining what an audiologist is and what we do. So I kind of want to be the person. I have that creative itch in me to try to make it fun and make it interesting for people. And so if I can do that, I'm gonna do it. I think the biggest thing out of all of this is that definitely needs change, but I know that I went through everything that I went through for a reason. And the only reason that I've gotten through all of this is because of God. And if you're not a believer, I'm not going to push it on you, but I will say that literally the only reason I'm sitting here in my apartment, have a car parked outside, have a job now, is simply because of God. And it was His timing, and I just had to be ready to jump when He said jump and not jump when I wanted to jump. So that's my biggest thing, is just I have to give the glory to God, because it wasn't me. It was not me. It was nothing I could have done differently other than studying more, I guess, to pass that test to then now be where I am today. So it was a journey. It was a long journey. It was a journey that put me back on a lot of projects that I wanted to be more ahead on at this point. But I'm not going to dwell on it anymore. I'm not going to look back and just be like, "Oh, I had to go through, take them tests 5 times." Like, I'm just not going to dwell on it anymore. But I am going to make sure that I help the next people coming up. So if you or someone that you know is struggling to pass the praxis, please reach out to me. You can email me. You can message me on YouTube. You can message me on Instagram. Figure out how to get in contact with me, because I do have a lot of resources now I'll be happy to send to you. I'm happy to do one-on-one sessions to study with you, but this profession needs a lot of work, and I think that this may be my avenue of putting in the work for this profession to grow and to be something better. So that is all, folks. That has been a emotional journey, but just know that we are back, and you're gonna be seeing a lot of me, and I hope you enjoy it. But I thank everyone. I hope that you will like, subscribe, share, repost, comment, do whatever you got to do to get this out to others. So I appreciate y'all for watching and listening, and watching me wipe my tears, even though I said I don't like to cry in front of people. But that is all, folks. Hear me out, because we got a lot to talk about.